This video is going to be weird. First, I intended to play through NieR Automata and share my impressions of the game. That didn't happen. Then, I intended to get familiar with the story of the game and share my thoughts on it. That also didn't happen. But I do have things to talk about when it comes to NieR Automata. The reason I'm explaining this instead of going straight into whatever I've got is because this first part I wrote immediately after replaying the tutorial for nearly 4 hours straight, meaning it's basically a salt mine with what you may consider to be harsh tone. It is true impressions from the heart, so I will leave it as I wrote it a few days ago. I just want to point out that the bit after that is, well, different. Here it goes. Yes, tutorial impressions, because I didn't see anything else from this game. I write this after almost 4 hours of repeating the tutorial on hard difficulty. I have a budding headache and an existential crisis. I just wanted to have some fun trying out NieR Automata. Dash, jump, press buttons, kill robots. Nice, relaxing activity with a backdrop of an amazing story. At least that's what I heard people online claim. Here's the situation. No game spoilers. I don't know any even if I wanted to spoil something. I am a PC player. I play on keyboard and mouse. NieR Automata only technically allows you to play on keyboard and mouse. And I'm sure there are those of you who actually played through the game that way and grew used to it. Maybe even enjoyed it. I won't kink shame. I'll just say that's not the kind of abuse that I enjoy. Here's how it goes. You move with WASD. When you have to move your character around and move your camera, you use the arrow keys for the camera. Shooting is done with left shift or right shift. Presumably those two are different shooting modes according to the control settings, but in the tutorial they do the same thing. Light attack is backslash and heavy attack is forward slash. Both of those buttons are next to the two shift keys. How do I move around with WASD, control my camera with the arrow keys, and press the two shift buttons and the extra buttons next to them? Can someone explain? Thankfully, the developers, or whoever did the PC port, were thoughtful enough to let us use the mouse, but it's not good. I think it moves way too fast and feels jittery as a result in flight mode, and it feels slow and sluggish in running around mode. Left and right click of the mouse are light and heavy attacks, so that's great. Also, I should mention that on hard difficulty you can not lock on, if you were wondering whether that would have made things better. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I could go on. Like for example, I think using items without going through the menu is done with Alt plus arrow keys. I don't know how I would do that while fighting stuff, especially if I'm using the mouse to move the camera. It would be much safer to pause the game by opening the menu and use whatever item I want that way. Fortunately, other people disliked the controls enough that there is a mod out there that more or less fixes them by allowing you to rebind everything. Allows you to toggle auto shoot because otherwise one of your fingers will be glued to the shift key or whatever you changed it to. Because your flying robot does the shooting for you, so there's no reason not to shoot all the time while fighting. At least I did not notice a reason to ever stop in the tutorial. And so on. It's a great mod that made the game playable for me. How come I ended up with nearly 4 hours of tutorial on repeat if I got the controls fixed? Well, let me tell you. The game has some funky save system which I would love to tell you more about, but unfortunately, I did not get to interact with it at all because it is not part of the tutorial. Meaning that you cannot save during the tutorial. If you die at any point, you have to restart everything from the very beginning. And you can't skip the chat. I expect I'll have nightmares of the opening bit with the other fighter jets or whatever those things are. It's so long. They always say the same things and I can never skip it. But hey, surely that's not too bad for a tutorial. It's a tutorial, right? How long can it be? I can get through it without dying. Yeah. Some people online say it's about an hour long. I never beat it, but I know from checking online posts to make sure that I'm not missing something about the saving system, that once you beat a certain boss, the tutorial ends and you get to save after that. I have reached that boss, and it takes me about 20 to 30 minutes to get to him. A lot of that boss's attacks one-shot, And yes, I can change the difficulty to get to the tutorial, then bump it back up. Yes, I know. That seems to be the general suggestion online. But I don't want to do it. It's been 7 years since the game came out. There's been a bunch of updates. They even did a Game of the Year edition, which as far as I can see, is the only edition you can buy. So it's not an addition to the base game, it's a better version of the base game that fixes whatever the developers deem to be issues with the game. The ultimate version of NieR Automata. And still, the tutorial is in this state. That means this is the intended design, the intended experience. This is the vision of Yoko Taro, the mastermind behind the critically acclaimed NieR Automata. If he says this is the experience I am meant to have, who am I to say otherwise? Alright, perhaps that was a bit too snarky, but it is the actual reason I decided to stick with my chosen difficulty level. Well, that and making this video. I wanted to get proper impressions of the game as it is. Except for the inputs, I'm not about that life. Repeating the tutorial, contrary to what you might think, had an anti-tutorial effect on me, on top of being hostile to my mental state. If I know that any misstep can send me back to purgatory, it makes me want to try out stuff less. Isn't the tutorial where we're supposed to try things out to figure out how things interact with each other without being punished for it? You know, learn the game? I don't know, but what ended up happening for me was I just shot opponents without getting close to them where I could. It wasn't very engaging, but I swear if I have to listen to that opening one more fucking time, I will... And you know what my takeaway from all this is? I should just boot up a no commentary playthrough of the game on YouTube instead of wasting my time with junky keyboard and mouse controls that need third-party content to be brought up to acceptable conditions and poor design choices. I bought the game on a deep discount and still I wish I hadn't dropped a single coin on it. End of tutorial rant. Begin next part. And that's exactly what I did. Watch a no commentary playthrough, I mean. 12 hours. It went through all the relevant endings. Then I did more. I watched a bunch of videos explaining the story, just to make sure I didn't miss something by not actually playing the game. I was going to take all that information and make this a spoiler-heavy part of the video where I go over the story and tell you what I think about it. I won't do that. Not because I don't want to spoil it, but rather because I don't think there's any point in spoiling it. I think I understand why the game is critically acclaimed, and I will try to explain. But I won't need to spoil anything in the story to do that, so I won't. The story itself is nothing special. It's kind of bland actually, in my opinion at least. There is a twist, because of course there's a twist, but it doesn't really matter. In fact, some of the videos I watched on the lore of the game explain the whole timeline, and it turns out, if you know the lore of the game before NieR Automata, you already know the twist. The characters are not very interesting either, although I'll say they weren't given that much time to develop. All of that may not be true for you. It's an opinion, and as such, subjective. But if it is true, what makes the game so well liked? In one of the videos I watched, there was this bit where Yoko Taro explains his game design philosophy. His goal is to evoke emotion in the player through the game, and I think the reason everyone loves NieR Automata is because he succeeded. To keep it short, and again no spoilers, the game presents the player with a ton of philosophical concepts and interacts with them through characters and events in the game. Most people, I would guess, don't really interface with philosophy in their lives, so I imagine a lot of the presented concepts would be novel to them. But more importantly, interacting with those concepts and considering them will be a new experience. And that's where the game wins. It doesn't evoke emotions through its story or its characters, although both of those things are good enough to evoke emotions, even though I do not consider them to be anything special. NieR Automata evokes emotions within the player, which, yeah, that's where all emotions exist, but I don't really know a better way to explain it. Those emotions do not come to be because of something that happened to such and such character or because of some cool twist in the story. They come to be because we reflected on what we saw. We thought about it. We drew some conclusions, we mapped them on our reality, and now we have emotions. And the story doesn't really matter when it comes to that. Overall, after watching a ton of gameplay of this game, I'm actually glad I ended up not playing through it. No part of the gameplay I saw really looks like something I would enjoy doing. Maybe it will grow on me, but I'll never know. If you have not played NieR Automata yet and you don't mind what you see in terms of gameplay, I'd say grab it on discount and give it a go. Just either don't play on keyboard and mouse, or download the mod that lets you customize your controls a bit more. And don't play the tutorial on hard mode unless you're gaming Jesus. You might just have a profound experience with this game. And if you get hooked and decide to look into the lore of the series, good luck, mate. On a side note, can anyone explain what killed me in this next clip? Oh my god, what? He's doing other stuff now. What?
I let my guard down.
Wait, what? I don't even know what hit me.